Hello and welcome to another WoW lore video. Today I'm going to continue talking about the lore from the direction of the factions and the races. This video is about explaining the new Grand Alliance, or just the Alliance, as quickly yet thoroughly and entertaining as I can. If you haven't seen my Horde lore video, the link will be in the description below. So, once again, a lot to get through and no time to do it. Onwards! The Alliance began when human tribes formed together into a single large empire in an effort to fight off the large Amani troll tribes. The capital of the empire was Strom, later known as Stromgarde, and its ruler was Emperor Thoradin. The High Elves had already been warring with the trolls and, seeing the might of this new empire, reached out for the two to work together. The High Elves taught humans magic, and together they defeated the trolls. After the Troll Wars, the human empire splintered. The Empire of Erethdor then became the Seven Kingdoms. King Thoradin retained Stromgarde, the human mages founded Dalaran, the nobility sought the lush northlands of Lordaeron, the heirs of Thoradin explored southward and founded Stormwind, and the common folk founded the city-states of Gilneas, Alterac, and Kul Tiras, which eventually grew to independence. During the First War, Stormwind was sacked by War Chief Orgrim Doomhammer. Refugees from Stormwind escaped northward to Lordaeron, where King Tyrannus II agreed to send aid and push the orcs back. This victory taught them the value of diplomacy and working together. So, King Tyrannus created a council to represent the Alliance of Lordaeron. This alliance included the Seven Kingdoms, as well as the High Elves of Quel'Danas, the Dwarves of Cosmodan, the Gnomes of Gnomeregan, and a representative from the Church of Light. Then came the Third War and the fall of Lordaeron. King Tyrannus II was killed by his son Arthas, Quel'Danas was destroyed, and the alliance fell into chaos. Refugees now fled southward to Stormwind with the aid of the dwarves, and King Varian Wrynn protected them and sent aid across the sea to aid in the war against the demons on Kalimdor. With the Northlands thoroughly blighted, Stormwind became the new capital of the Alliance, and Varian was named High King. And this remained true all the way up until World of Warcraft's 6th expansion, Legion. The Alliance is just that. A group of individual powers that work together for a common goal. They still follow the moral backbone of their original leader, King Thoradin, believing above all else justice and protecting their people from outside dangers. While the human king may be High King, he doesn't rule the entire alliance. Rather, he coordinates with all the leaders, acts as a mediator, and guides the faction as a whole towards a common goal, while the individual nations under him work partly towards that goal and partly towards their own ends. This is the biggest difference between the Alliance and the Horde. The War Chief rules the Horde and its leaders, but the High King does not rule the entire Alliance and has to work with the other leaders. Of course, this also means that things change less with the Alliance. It's very old and follows the same structure more or less as it did over 1,000 years ago. With the Horde, it's so chaotic and crazy that any action could lead to infighting and revolutions. But that practically never happens in the Alliance. The balance of power never really shifts, and that's kind of boring. But hey, it means fewer lore characters dying, so whatever. Alright. Let's move on to the races of the Alliance. So, starting with humans. Look, they're humans. They're the same humans you'll find in any fantasy setting, a young but tenacious race that has faced many trials with remarkable resilience. Their ability to adapt has made them stand out, yada yada yada. Humans come in all shapes and sizes and are all over the world, with as many traits as there are humans. They're currently led by Anduin Wrynn, son of Varian Wrynn. Anduin has always been a peace-loving goody-good, so much so that when his body was crushed in Pandaria, the Light saw fit to heal him from the brink of death. It's now said that whenever he does something bad, or when something bad is about to happen, he'll feel pain from his bones like a sort of spidey sense. Despite being in the game since vanilla, Anduin is really only now getting some proper attention. I'm glad he's growing into it, but it's hard not to see as an experience. I mean, come on, you're in a franchise called Warcraft, and you're such a pacifist that you tried on multiple occasions to bring peace between the two biggest factions in the game. In fact, the only two playable factions in the game? How are you not dead yet? Moving on to the dwarves. Dwarves come in three basic flavors. We have the Bronzebeard clan, who live in the capital of Ironforge. These are your basic, ale-loving miner crafters within the mountain type of dwarves. But they also have a great love of archaeology and learning history, as well as being the founders of the Explorers League.
Who will answer the call?
Explorers League, and we are in need of explorers. Adventure we seek, cross land and sea. Won't you come and join us?
Yes!
Next is the Wildhammer clan, dwarves who prefer living outside in the open sky. These dwarves train griffins and ride them into battle above the clouds. Finally, there's the Dark Iron clan. When the War of Three Hammers ended, the Dark Irons couldn't stand that they'd lost, and moved to Blackrock, where they summoned Ragnaros to destroy Ironforge! This backfired spectacularly. After the players kill Thorison and Ragnaros, the Dark Irons are free to serve their queen, Moira. More about her in a second. The dwarves are ruled by the Council of Three Hammers. They used to be ruled by Magni, but he accidentally turned himself into Diamond and now serves as the speaker for the soul of the planet. Just roll with it. With him gone, his daughter Moira would have become queen, except she actually married Thorison, betraying her father and becoming the queen of the Dark Irons. Thanks to Anduin and Varian, an agreement was made among the dwarves. Muradin Bronzebeard, Moira Thorison, and Falstad Wildhammer would rule Ironforge together as the Council of Three Hammers until Moira's son, Daegrin Thorison II, is grown enough to take the throne. The hope is that with the Council there to guide him, as well as Anduin and his grandfather Magni, he'll grow up a capable enough ruler to inherit the entire dwarven race. Gnomes. Ah, gnomes, the punching bags of WoW. Jokes aplenty about punting these guys. Why are they so mocked? Well, not only are they tiny, but they're incredibly friendly. With everyone. They'll work together with anyone as long as it's in the pursuit of knowledge. Humans, elves, trolls, goblins, even orcs. If you want to learn, then you are a friend of the gnomes. And it's a good thing they're little friendly balls of joy, because over 80% of their race is wiped out before WoW even starts. Yup. Back in the Second War, the Troglodytes, or Trogs for short, broke into the gnomish city of Gnomragon. Mechgineer Thermoplug took advantage and tricked the Gnome King, High Tinker Mechatork, into venting radiation throughout the city in an attempt to kill the Trogs. Instead, not only did the Trogs mutate and become stronger, but most of the gnomes either died or were driven insane, becoming an undead subrace called Leper Gnomes. Thermoplug also became one of these undead gnomes and claimed the irradiated city as his own. Mechatork and the other gnomes retreated to Ironforge and have been trying to reclaim Gnomragon piece by piece since then. Despite being able to kill Thermoplug as a boss since vanilla World of Warcraft, according to the lore, he's still alive, and the gnomes are still trying to reclaim their capital. All while still sending aid to the Alliance as much as they can to still be considered relevant, while most of their race is irradiated and zombified. Fun fact, as of the Cataclysm expansion, you play as a gnome that was irradiated, but was purified by a new gnomish invention. So I guess they've been spending the last 10 years or so healing their population one gnome at a time? I don't know. Night Elves. Okay, look. I could very easily make like a dozen videos just about Night Elves. They've been around for thousands of years. Everything about them is deep and complicated, and we just don't have time to get into it right now. Super summary. They are purple-skinned wood elves that have been around for freaking ever. They used to be immortal, but now they're not. They live in giant trees called world trees, prey to a whole hosts of gods, of goddesses, and demigods, They have druids that were blessed by Ysera to access the Emerald Dream, a natural ethereal plane that gives them nature powers. They used to rule the world in a giant empire, and even now, they're basically as powerful as the Burning Legion used to be, except the Burning Legion was defeated in the World of Warcraft Legion. They are currently mad because the Horde burned down their home and killed thousands of civilians, but their army is still as strong as ever. All their demigods are back. Elune is pissed, and honestly, it's a huge plot hole that the Horde thinks they have a chance in hell of fighting them on their home field. The War of Thorns was bad enough, but even with the new Azerite giant mechs the goblins have made, the Battle of Darkshore should be so one-sided I don't even know why they bothered. The Night Elves are ruled by Malfurion Stormrage, a druid so powerful he was able to keep the corrupted elements from ripping Darkshore apart on his own. In fact, according to lore, he's supposed to be on par with the dragon aspects. You know, like Deathwing. Except they have apparently lost their powers, and he hasn't. And Tyrande Whisperwind is his wife and fellow ruler, a warrior priestess to their main goddess Elune, and it is said that with her blessing, she is on equal footing in terms of power with her husband. Seriously, what the hell is this? How come we never get to see this? It's so lame. On to the Draenei. Draenei are space goat people with tentacles on their face. Yes, really. They come from the planet Argus, but when the Burning Legion came, 2 of their 3 rulers joined willingly and became the 2 most powerful generals of the Legion, Kil'jaeden and Archimonde. Their 3rd leader, Prophet Velen, stole a giant spaceship called the Genadar and flew off. They visited a ton of planets pursued by the Burning Legion. Along their journey, their most elite decided to split the Genadar in half, with their half going to fight the Legion and slow them down while the rest escaped. This other half was called the Zenadar, and was lost until it reappeared in World of Warcraft Legion. Eventually, the Genadar crashed on Draenor and became known to the native orcs as the Oshugun, or Mountain of Spirits, as many Draenei and even a few Naru had died there, allowing their spirits to linger on around it. Naru, by the way, are basically these light creatures who are made of crystal, and they apparently embody a lot of like what the light is. We don't really know. It's just one of those things that sort of come in and out of lore, and we don't really get a huge explanation about it, but it's fine, I guess, whatever. Anyway, when the Legion arrived on Draenor, the Draenei prayed for aid from the Naru. They responded with the Tempest Keep, a great Naru fortress. While they were able to keep the Legion at bay, they were not able to also keep Illidan and his people out. The fortress was taken. Enemies were bearing down on all sides, and eventually the native people and the Draenei were pushed down to a single city, Shatrath. In a final-ditch effort, Velen led his people on a spearhead assault on Tempest Keep, but not to retake it. Instead, they hijacked a single wing of the fortress and quickly cannibalized it to make an escape vessel. They shot themselves into space with a single burst and flew wild and out of control until eventually slamming into Azeroth. That escape vessel became their home of Exodar, until the end of Legion, where they tore it apart in order to make the Vindicar. And now, the Draenei are space-capable again. Wait. The Alliance have a spaceship, and the Horde don't. God damn it, did I just accidentally find another plot hole to BFA? Damn! The last main race of the Alliance is the Worgen. Worgen were people from Gilneas, you know, one of the old human 7 kingdoms. When Lordaeron fell, they decided to wall themselves off from the rest of the world. They did some minimal seafaring trade with the island nation of Kultiras, but otherwise they were completely isolated from the rest of the world. Then, the Feral Worgen attacked. Feral Worgen were Night Elf druids who practiced the form of the pack, a wolf form that drove them nutso-crazy bonkers. So much so, in fact, that the other druids sealed them away in the pocket of the Emerald Dream. Then, one day, a mage, Archmage Arugal, accidentally summoned them while he was experimenting with portals to other worlds. As you might expect from werewolf analogs, Worgen bites can turn other people into Worgen, and a whole lot of all of them were suddenly set loose into the forests of Gilneas. Over time, the converted Gilneans created a potion that temporarily returned sanity to those who turned, but proper salvation came from the Alliance Night Elves, who performed a ritual to not only return their sanity, but also let them swap from human form to Worgen form at will. They then saved the Gilneans when the Forsaken attacked, and blighted their entire country, shipping this new Worgen race to the Alliance, where their king, King Greymane, swore allegiance to the High King and swore an everlasting debt to the Night Elves, who rescued them from certain doom. It has recently been shown that while Gen is certainly loyal to Anduin and would never betray him, his allegiance is even stronger towards the Night Elves, to the point of directly defying Anduin in their favor.
The Night Elves saved my people from our curse. They offered us refuge in Darnassus after our kingdom fell. I cannot stand idle as they endure the same fate we did. Gilneas will fight by their side. I don't mean to defy you, but if I didn't give the order, I think Mia would charge off to battle without me.
I understand, Gen. Light be with you.
I wonder what the Worgen would do if the Night Elves ever decided to leave the Alliance. Oh, and yeah, pandas. God damn it. I really like the Pandaren with their story and lore and stuff. I wish they weren't such a freaking afterthought. One group joins the Horde and the other one joins the Alliance. Their story disappears after level 20 or so, only to have a brief cameo in the Siege of Orgrimmar raid, and that's it. Alliance pandas would be led by Asa Cloudsinger if they actually did anything in the story. She believes that the ends don't justify the means. And that's as far as her character development went. No joke. You get told more about how pretty she is, apparently, by Pandaren standards, than anything actually about her character. That's how little they care about Asa Cloudsinger. So, that's the Alliance in a nutshell. Go pick up a sword and try to stop the Horde from killing everything. For honor! For Gilneas! For Cosmodan! For Pandaria! Tor Ilisar Theranal! For Nomrigan! Ardansha Kikaldos! For the Alliance!